Radford? Perfect, yeah.
You need to downstairs.
Yeah. Do you have a presentation?
No, not presentation.
You're waiting for someone from the university.
Much appreciated. Okay. I'm good.
This feels like the Tower of Sauron or something. You're right at the top.
Oh, there's two more floors.
Which, as you probably heard, is one of the most backward areas of Virginia. When people look at Virginia, they look at Fairfax County, but they don't look beyond that, which turns out to be fairly backwards in terms of computer science education in schools. Most, in fact, if you go below Charlottesville, Virginia, where UVA is based, most schools, in fact all schools almost, don't have any AP classes. It's all dual enrollment based classes. So we figured cybersecurity is an exciting area to sort of spark a passion, to sort of seduce students who think IT is boring into security. But when we went to some of the other schools that had security programs, we asked them, what sort of a security program did you have? They say, we do Network Plus, Security Plus, A Plus, and so on. The problem we realized with Security Plus and so on is they're outstanding, they are rigorous, but they only attract those people who have already bought into computer science, those who have decided to pursue security as a field. What about those who just dislike IT, those who probably watched movies like Office Space and decided IT is boring, it's for nerds, and so on. So we decided to focus
I'm sorry,
on...
I'm interrupting you. Did you leave your phone? And a notebook? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sure, no
The feeling that's what you were looking for.
Perfect. So through funding from NSA that we've been receiving since 2013, we've been following a certain approach with these two goals in mind. What we did was, firstly, we decided we needed a course that would be like a scaffolding between basic cybersecurity awareness and the A plus, Security Plus, and all those rigorous courses. So we needed some kind of a course that would give students some depth, but won't burden them with too many prerequisites. So when they start doing cybersecurity course, we don't hit them with networking backgrounds, with requirements for Linux background and all of those things. We wanted a course that would rather focus on problem solving skills. But we wanted it to be enough depth that it doesn't just become a game. When they go into security, they don't expect some Pokemon figure trying to be saved by someone else. We wanted it to be more. So it's a learning. We're still learning lessons from there. It's lessons in progress. Progress.
Excuse me.
And so, so our goal was, again, for those of you who just come here, as an introduction, our goal is to serve as a scaffolding between basic cybersecurity awareness and the more rigorous security courses that have tons of prerequisites, or at least a few prerequisites, and that may turn off students who are not motivated. So, to give you an idea of how we went about starting this, we created one semester, 16 weeks of learning modules. These learning modules are based off on the idea that what do we do if you don't want to burden students with prerequisites like networking or Linux and so on, but want to introduce cybersecurity? Well, we decided, let the student figure out. So from day one, we threw capture the flag contests at them. So every week for 16 weeks, every Monday, they start off with a capture the flag contest. The contest is sort of very similar to, I hope I can pull out my website here. Sort of contest. We built a small capture the flag engine from an open source engine that we had. Topic one is say reconnaissance. We say, hey, go and do all of these things on Google. Use Google hacking, for instance. Or we'd say, go ahead and do certain networking things, like go ahead and look up who is records and so on. Technology-based stuff. Now, some students know this because they keep tinkering with computers. Some students do not know this. So those who do not know, we give them a couple of options, well, lots of options. First, every week a faculty member meets with them online. It's a virtual online meeting, face-to-face meeting. They all sign up. We have an online platform called Adobe Connect. They connect to it, and the faculty member directly interacts with the students and helps them. Second, we provide the students with 10 minutes or less, inspired by Khan Academy, 10 minutes or less videos that address one specific topic. So if the student is stuck, for instance, let's say something like, sometimes we give them a challenge saying, there is one computer on this network that is running a database server. Now, a student may not know what a database server is. We'll have a small lecture that introduces database servers. The student may not know how to find a computer. That is, they don't know what an IP address is. At that point, we introduce what an IP address is. So we are only introducing these concepts based on need, rather than in the beginning. We don't say, this is how networking is, this is the protocols, this is CCN, this is Cisco routers, and so on. Nothing. We just introduce these concepts as and when it's needed. And towards the end of the semester, in March 2014 and 2015, both the years, we decided we'll conduct a Capture the Flag contest that is much more broader and in-depth, not just for the students who are taking this, who are in this program, but for all students across Virginia, all high school students across Virginia. It was a very exciting contest. We've had several students. In 2014, we decided to do this about 3 weeks before we actually did it. So we ended up with about 35 students, which wasn't too much. In 2015, when we conducted this Capture the Flag contest, we had around 97 students from close to 16 school districts in Virginia who competed. And some of them were taking our course, some of them were not. Now, here are the current results. So we started developing these modules in fall 2013. That's when we got the grant. And we thought, we'll just give these modules to the teachers in high schools. They will incorporate it into their curriculum. They'll come back and say, what an awesome job you did. Pat on the back. They came back after a year and said, you guys teach the course. They basically gave the modules to their students. The students said yes. After a week, no one turned in any assignments. No one did a thing. So it didn't move forward. So in spring 2015, we waded into the dark territory of offering a dual enrollment course. We are a state university. Offering a dual enrollment course is fairly challenging. We first have to go through hoops to convince university to offer it for free to high school students, because high school students don't tend to pay, and we are trying to capture students who probably don't have the resources to pay in the first place. So luckily, university was very supportive, especially we had funds from NSA as well, so they decided to give us a 3-year timeline to 2018 to offer this for free to high school students. We went ahead and offered it online in spring 2015. We had about 22 students from 5 high schools. That number was fairly small. We purposefully kept it small because of some other challenges we faced in the middle. As we were offering it, we realized that universities in Virginia, and this may be similar with other states, but universities in Virginia cannot offer dual enrollment courses without the permission of community college systems. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
So we realized that for every high school we offer this course, our president of our university has to sign an MOU with the president of the community college. You can imagine that it's fairly challenging. So that's been taking us a year, but thankfully every community college we have met so far has been very happy to join in this effort, especially when they realized that this was not duplicating anything that they were doing, but it's more like a step forward. Yes.
So was that with VCCS or was that with Lithville and New River?
With Whitville and New River, and Virginia.
Individual.
Because it has to be the president of the community college. And VCCS itself, well, I mean, there are so many community colleges, so every community college.
23.
So, yeah. Luckily, I decided not to be involved in that effort. We delegate it into someone else.
It's interesting, though, they didn't do it at the upper level. I think that VCCS would do it, especially if you all take this online.
So this is not the Virginia Community College System guideline. This turned out to be the State Council of Higher Education's guideline. So, and the State Council of Higher Education never faced this problem before. So when we came up to them, they were not sure what the policy was. And they had a policy hidden and they interpreted this policy as a one-to-one relationship between schools and community colleges. But the good news is, we did, in fall 2015, we had several schools trying to join in. We couldn't still formally advertise, that would be illegal because we were not yet authorized to. But we had about 75 students who signed up, but when we ran into these guidelines for dual enrollment, we are only currently teaching 25, and that too informally, because we're not offering them credit, but their schools are offering them credit. But in spring 2016, we have 100+ students from 10+ school districts where we have successfully negotiated and signed the MOUs. And we hope to keep expanding that over the years. In parallel, starting this spring, we are also doing teacher training, because the ultimate goal for us is we've developed all these modules. They're all online. They can all be accessed. We also developed labs, and just to give you a perspective, developing a course like this requires that you develop remote lab facilities that students can log in. So we are using CipherPath's virtualization. How many of you have heard of CipherPath? I'm not going to advertise for them, but the person who founded CipherPath is a Radford University alumni that helped us get the software for free. But we pretty much run the labs like this. Of course, this looks awful, the way it looks. It's sort of my laziness that I threw up a lab, but these are all Linux boxes. Students from any part of Virginia, anywhere in the country, can simply click on a machine and they get access to a machine. In this case, it's going through the Wi-Fi and so on. But in this case, they'll get access to a Kali Linux machine and so on. The modules themselves, as I said, they're all based on, the other thing we did was, let me ask you all a question. If a student is not interested in IT, and you're trying to sort of seduce that student into computer science with security as your goal, how can you scare that student into considering security? Or how can you motivate the student? What context will frighten a high school student most?
Steal something off the phone.
Phone, very good. But it's very hard for us to duplicate smartphones and show them smartphone security and give them hands-on
I don't think
experience.
you can.
What else? Well, you can, but we conducted a workshop of teachers and they all said social media. Show them how their Facebook can be hacked or Twitter can be hacked. And well, we cannot hack Facebook and Twitter. So what we did was this whole capture the flag, from day one, we built it around a social media website that we developed called Hackbook. We didn't copy the name. But Hackbook we introduced enough vulnerabilities in it so that we are able to teach them everything from reconnaissance to using Linux to finding out the database server where the Hackbook is storing its data, to things like web-based security, for instance, cross-site scripting and SQL injections and cross-site request forgeries, to cryptography. The Hackbook, we purposefully decided not to encrypt it. Of course, it's also painful to write all that encryption software. So one of the nice things about building a broken site is you can do a really pretty lousy job and get away with it, which is what we did. But the whole idea is students come on day one, they create their accounts on Hackbook, and through the rest of the course they learn hacking skills and then securing skills, all built around just the social media site. Our goal is to then expand this to smartphones, which is where funding is the issue that we are still figuring out how to get to that point.
So how has it worked?
It has worked well. In spring 2015, as I said, we had 22 students who signed up for this class. Now, our goal was, did they eventually choose computer science? Unfortunately, they were a self-selected group. They all loved computer science. They all went to pursue computer science majors. But the difference was, out of 22 students, we found that 16 never considered cybersecurity as an option. They were looking at gaming, which is what most of our undergrads do. They say we want to be game programmers until they realize there are no jobs there. But 16 of them never considered cybersecurity as an option, and 8 of them have decided to just go ahead and pursue cybersecurity as their primary field of study because they just got very excited. That's a very small sample size, though, to be honest.
So this is a 3-hour course?
It's a 3-hour course for 16 weeks. Yes. That's how we designed it, but the whole idea is teachers can pick and choose for their specific school what they want to cover. Now, if they want to get dual enrollment credit, they have to do the entire 16-week, 3-hour course. Now, this next semester is when we are getting 100+ students who decided to sign up. So that's going to be when we will get additional results. And if anyone here has experience in what we're going to be dealing with, please feel free to let us know. Now, in terms of the contest itself, we had 16 teams from 10 schools in Virginia. We had schools all over from Northern Virginia. I think we were looking at a school called Thomas Jefferson High School in Nova, which is rated very high in this area. And we had schools all across Virginia. We had some from Whitwell, as you mentioned. We had schools from extremely rural areas called Martinsville, Danville, all of those places. We were, and it was an interesting experience in that we were trying to see how the scores would finally fall. And while Thomas Jefferson and Northern Virginia, Fairfax County schools pretty much sweep the competition, what we realized was many other schools where they had no security experience, they actually did pretty well. We had 30,000 points on board. The Fairfax County schools, which competed in there, the ones close to Fairfax County, they got close to 30,000. But many of the other schools ended up getting close to 25,000 to 24,000. And that was a very impressive result for us, showing that the students really had the hunger to learn. And all they needed was just a platform and the resources, basically a lab where they could practice their skills. Okay. All of these,
Your 100 students, you had a pretty screened group for the first time? Were these students
we didn't
also
screen
screened?
anyone. We didn't screen
I mean,
anyone.
you said you had 25 that were,
Yeah, we basically asked the students, we basically told schools to advertise the course, and whoever wants to sign up can sign up. We didn't conduct any.
so it was by school, okay.
It was school by school, and it was just that the students who signed up in the beginning were those who were interested in it. Now we are seeing a lot more interest in it because we sent these students back to their schools and asked them to advertise it on our behalf. One other thing we have started doing, which is probably attracting more students, is we have a cyber defense club, and there is another session in which I'll talk a little bit about that. But we have several undergraduate students in there. They keep competing in all sorts of competitions. So these students are now working as mentors. So they provide mentorship every week. It's not voluntary. They're doing it because they love it, but we are also paying them for it, which is probably the main reason too. And that's coming through the grant. But the funding is important. Without the funding, this would not be easy. But what we saw was the high school students would be more receptive, clearly, to the undergraduate peer mentors than to an instructor, to a professor in the university. But that seems to be drawing a larger number of students to consider taking this course from different high schools. Okay. Any questions? By the way, we plan to release all these modules for free, open source, online. If any of you is interested, you could just send me an email. I have a few handouts that I'll hand over while the other gentleman is talking. And with my contact information. If you are interested, I'll be happy to share with you these modules. I know one of you is here is from Hacker High School.
Yes.
We've been greatly inspired by you in that one of our modules is actually security analysis based off on OSS TMM. We took OSS TMM, which we realized many schools don't cover for some strange reason, and we abstracted it out enough so they at least understand how to do something methodically. Yeah. Any questions? Okay. So I'll let Zach go ahead and talk.
I'll be giving a full presentation on what the Naval Academy is doing tonight. What I kind of wanted to offer for this panel specifically is I'm kind of currently someone still in the process. So ideally I'd have a unique perspective if you had any questions of engaging students. I'm a senior this year, so 21, just finishing up a cyber operations degree at the Naval Academy. So it's the first ever cyber operations degree offered at the undergraduate level in the nation. Sponsored by the DoD, we have internships with NSA that we fulfill at least 6 weeks throughout the summer. And what I'm kind of speaking towards, mainly the reason I'm here, is because unlike this presentation, the Naval Academy, everyone who comes in, all 1,200 midshipmen per year, have to go through a cybersecurity course. So we structured it very differently. Where this is structured to encourage students and be that bridge, ours is usually the end of all, the beginning and the end of all students' cyber education. So we'll have somebody come in who was not technical at all at the high school level. Of course, to get into the Naval Academy, you have to have a fairly strong base of mathematics and science, but their only goal is to study history. They come in, they study history at the Naval Academy. No matter what you study, because of our rigorous curriculum in physics, as well as mathematics and chemistry, everyone receives a Bachelor of Science. And the unique part on that is there are 2 mandatory cybersecurity classes. So in the cybersecurity class, there are history majors, English majors, chemistry majors, physics majors, but they're also sitting alongside computer science majors, IT majors, and cyber ops majors. So we had the very difficult job of trying to create something that could, like you said, entice, but really just engage history majors while also challenging computer science majors. And the way we kind of did that, which I'll present in its entirety this evening, but is really to set it up where the student is the one who is able to scale what they learn. And the best example of this is one of the very first things we do is build a website. So as you alluded to, if you're just going to put something up in HTML, it requires very little technical skill. However, at that same time, students are freely available to leverage the large SQL database servers we have to build a website that pulls news articles. So whenever we're able to offer that scalability for students, the requirement is that the website is interactive. That could be something as simple as on click, this changes, or it could be something where they put in a sports team and it populates a whole field of recent scores. And what that allowed us to do is push 1,200 students through every semester of that 16-week 3-credit course. So this is the 5th year of it. So we've had a total number of students go through it of just around 1,000 per class. So right around 7,000 students have gone through this program. And the follow-on to this program is the Cybersecurity 2 program. It lends itself a little bit more to a systems engineering type course where it deals a lot with architecture, deals some with physical system construction and circuits, and that's mainly centered around the end goal of the Naval Academy is to prepare people not so much for a job, but for a career in the Navy. And the Navy, as I'm sure you all more than most can appreciate, is becoming ever more dependent on cyber. And if you look back over the most recent, whether it be DoD or private sector hacks and data breaches, the majority of them have not been incredibly technical, but rather very personal. And so the issues have been an individual, the company did not understand what a phishing email was. So a core part of this cyber course is teaching phishing, how to do it, how to prevent against it. And the reason for that is this could be the last time we touch a lot of these students, but they will go on to all sorts of level of industry as well as naval service. So what we structured it to try and be is that catch-all. So that's kind of a short intro. I'll go through the whole module. It actually just got opened up to the public license, so it's wide open to leverage all of its resources available if you just Google search it on the internet. I'll go through where you guys can access it and resources to teach it. But I think if you wanted to kind of field questions about how the different modules work, or I didn't know what you wanted to do for the rest of the panel, but I think we could open it up if you have questions, comments, or things you would like to add.
So I guess one of the questions I have for the Naval Academy
Absolutely.
course, is that one that is open, like high school students, you would encourage them to go do to explore? I wasn't quite understanding if that's what the premise was.
Yep, so the way it's set up now is it's completely built for an individual who has, and so our prerequisites, if you will, is someone who has been through essentially just a high school degree, only for the sense that they can handle the basic level of critical thinking it takes to learn HTML. So if you're a ninth grader and you have a proclivity for these things, I think you could easily go through the entire course with no problem.
So when you say that there is the resources available, such as the SQL database, or things like that, that would be available to the general public as well?
So no, and
Okay.
I can detail those a little bit more, but so the infrastructure is the only piece you need to incorporate from your school. The whole framework is available. Now at that same time, you most certainly don't need that SQL database to build a website.
Correct.
But you would need your own server at your school to host the students' websites. So essentially, as you go through the modules, one of the modules is an attacking lab, where there's a red team and a blue team, and they hack each other. You would need your own laptops and set up a network with that. But all of the tools and resources, if you wanted them itemized, it's available. And that's mainly for our DoD contracting. So we have that freely available, as well as where we purchased a lot of that stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
So where is the curriculum available? What's just Google it?
Yep.
What kind of string would you type into Google to produce the proper result?
Yep, so it's SI 110 USNA, and that stands for Information Security 110.
SI 110.
Yep. And then
What's the rest of it?
and then just USNA or United States Naval Academy. And it'll be the very first thing. And I'll have the full URL available, as well as if you guys would like more information, we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But for the other, I'm going to keep asking, I'm just going to let anyone else ask questions.
Okay, yeah.
For your high school curriculum that you're talking about, you're looking to share that freely. Is that out there available, or just now, like, it sounds like you're piloting at this point and then looking to go?
So the curriculum is basically a bunch of capture the flag contests each week. So each week's CTF, and a bunch of video lectures that we recorded. When we started the program, I recorded all the video lectures, and I realized that even though they were less than 10 minutes, they were an excellent cure for insomnia. So, so we hired a couple of RAs this semester who are re-recording those, and they're adding their own perspective into those videos. That's primarily what we're doing. All the series of videos, they are being posted on Vimeo, so it's easy for everyone to access. But or they could be on the, we also are hosting it on our iTunes University, but Vimeo is usually what most students prefer for some reason. So that's what we'll release for everyone. Basically the series of contests and Vimeo usage, plus our lab. We built a lab, as you saw, the remote labs, that anyone can access from anywhere. Bradford used to be a closed university. We had our VPN connection. You had to get an account with the VPN to log in. We are working, and just about 2 weeks back, our university gave me permission to secure a separate network off campus. That is, we'll have a network not inside the RU campus. It will be inside physically, but it won't be covered by the VPN. It will be completely exposed to the outside world.
What was
Of
the
course,
magic thing that you said that where you were able to get that?
it's our K through 12 initiative.
That's-
I think the speaker before us was talking about policy, and the governor of Virginia
Yeah.
said K through 12 cybersecurity is crucial, except the governor did not provide us any funds. But we took that and we went to the financial office, and the provost, and we told the provost in the financial office that this is how we can distinguish ourselves from our neighbor, Virginia Tech and other schools.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, have a network that is off campus that everyone can access, and that's where we'll host resources that people can use. Now, of course, the challenge is, and we haven't had that problem, it's a good problem to have. If too many schools want to join in, then our resources will be quickly overwhelmed.
Do you have an
which case-
estimate of what do you think your capacity can handle?
So we have 8 servers, and we can handle about 256 into 8 machines. So approximately over 2,000 machines. That's primarily what we can handle. 2,000 accounts, 2,000 people at a time. And it's a good problem to have if we are getting overwhelmed. But we haven't had that problem yet. So once we have that external network, we'll also move the resources outside of the VPN so that it's accessible to everyone across the nation.
You said you had a handout?
Yes, these handouts. If anyone wants it, just pass it.
Lights keep washing him out. Keep sitting in front of windows.
Now, I do want to tell you that the course, the security course is only free for Virginia students. That's the state policy. We can.
I think you must have. Maybe a couple more.
Keep sitting in front of bright windows.
Sorry?
I keep closing blinds behind you so I can see you.
Did you mean to hand those out?
Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah, do you have a couple more?
Yeah, sure, I have lots
Oh,
of.
okay.
Will this bother you to turn on the light?
No, not at all. That'll be fine, yeah. It's the windows behind them keep washing them out.
No, we have a bunch of school systems that are looking at the program. The problem is not the school systems. Well, there's no problem really, but the strategy that we have to follow is we need permission from the community college that serves that school district. And we have to do it community college at a time, each college at a time. So that's what we are doing. And our next phase of this grant is in fact to, once we have the MOUs with the community college, we plan to create a spoke and a hub and a spoke model, where the community colleges will be the ones who will take this course and offer it to. They will be the ones who will provide the faculty guidance and so on, because they are much better suited than universities in doing geology classes. That they are much better. Yes.
What about out-of-state universities?
As a state school, it's very hard for us to think beyond the state boundaries, but the graduate course, for instance, the teaching cybersecurity course, the stipend for that is available to teachers from community colleges, high schools, anyone from across the nation. Because the stipend for that is coming from NSA, it's not state dependent. Now the modules themselves will be free for any school from anywhere in the country. It's just the dual enrollment credit at Radford University cannot be given without fees to out-of-state students.
Are you looking to build the teacher module available online freely like the student modules?
Yes. So the teacher modules will also be fully available for free. It's a course we are offering in spring, so we don't have all the modules in place yet.
Right.
And of course, it's the way we'll build the modules is in collaboration with the teachers who are signing up, because we don't have any prerequisites for the teachers themselves. Which means we may get any STEM teacher in, and we want to find out from their perspective how we could incorporate cybersecurity into their curriculum. We are working with the School of Education to get that perspective, and since none of us who were originally in this project really had that clue. We are all computer science professors, and so we don't have a perspective of how a biology teacher could incorporate security module. So with math, it's a lot easier. But the biology teacher would be a little harder. So. But yes, all the modules will be available for free. Please feel free to send me an email. My email is the middle username in that URL. We are going to host all of this on a separate security site, so I can keep in touch with all of you if you send me an email. Keep you updated.
Matt at ru.edu.
Oh, that's right.
Is that Radford or are you? Yeah.
At radford.edu.
And are you first name dot last name at Navy.mil or?
Oh, no, so they actually changed the way they do it. And ours is pretty extrapolated, but it's actually M
Okay.
and then 161416. But there will be a better contact.
Okay.
And then, given in the presentation this evening, we're just waiting on exactly who at the Academy will host. So this is the first time we've presented our class, the SI 110 class, as an offering. So we're still working on exactly what we'll be able to support as far as site visits or resources other than what's available online as far as teacher. And so that information is coming back to me today by the top of the hour. So I'll have that for my presentation this evening on who's best. But if you wanted to contact me about anything, I have cards that I could.
Is Kevin Fairbanks teaching the courses in the security section over there, or?
You know, I'm familiar with the name, but because of the size of it,
Yeah.
there's about 30 teachers who teach it.
Okay.
And almost all of them are military, which is a unique aspect to a lot of the application piece of what you'll see in the courses. A lot of them are very pointed towards, hey, this Navy case was with this embedded systems, so we are going to do a module on how can you connect to a thermostat and how do you communicate with it. Only because it's such a unique aspect that I can type in a URL and I can pull up a water pump. Or I can type in a couple numbers, an IP address, and I can then control the lights in the room. So that's kind of what we focus on, the big ideas, because it's kind of it's almost an inverse learning teaching pyramid where it's almost like you have kids who understand quantum mechanics, but they don't know the periodic table. So they know how to play with apps and they know how to manipulate computers in incredible ways, but they have no idea how any of it works. So it's such a unique framework that whenever we can say, hey, this phone is really talking to this phone, and then you can have them manipulate, it's just such a odd experience. That's one of the reasons we try to ground them in naval experiences, because students can, from their time at sea, can better understand.
And then you put them at sea and they go back 35 to 40 years in the computer technology.
That's right. Yeah, so that's way above my pay grade. So, but yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
If anyone wants my card for,
Very
yes,
good.
if you want to.